Legendary breakfast with Peteke and Thabile TTO.
www.massivmetro.com, live with you Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. right here on the rocking, real and relevant Massive Metro. The time right now is 25 minutes after the hour of 8 a.m. in the morning, and we just drove into the third and final hour of the show, and it just got even more legendary and iconic because we're hanging out with the Z in TKZEE. See what I did there? Good morning.
No, I did that.
And he's not lying. He's not lying.
How you doing this morning?
Yeah, I'm like listening to your intro, like, yeah, it couldn't be better. I'm feeling like it's 3 a.m. in the morning.
Now imagine how we feel, and we do it every single day.
And our kanga bekom do beka igane enhloko. Was bugela nje kre.
It's the hustle.
Good to be hanging out with you guys, and
we love this.
Great.
We're happy.
Is this new studios or you've just moved?
We've been here since September last year, so yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
No, it's good to hang out.
So we can say new studios. So welcome to Massive Metro.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So ladies and gentlemen, we have Zwai Bala in studio. Rona re tlo re Zwai Bala because banyani rebana we are kids.
That's still fine. Village umunyoti. Sorry, timer. It's like
Don't you like being called that?
No, it's just so like alarming. And then you're like, yes, how are you there? Yeah, sure. My dad's 40th last year. We really grooved, and I'm like,
yeah. I mean, but Zwai, you want to know from you, over 20 years in the industry, do you still find yourself in settings where you have to introduce yourself when you walk into settings, basically?
Well, it seems that some people don't expect me to be introducing myself. Like, I'll introduce myself, hi, I'm Lomiti, okay, Kina, Mang, whatever, and hi, Zwai, or depending on the settings, a lot of the time when I'm introducing myself, I'm saying Umzwandile, you know?
Oh.
And they're like, we know who you are, you don't need to do that. So I'm like, okay, when I just go through that in my mind, okay, so I'm supposed to say, well, you know who I am. You know, and I'm not big on this whole ego stuff that goes with that comes not even with the industry or with music or whatever, just comes with what comes now. Because I believe that I'm still a musician.
Absolutely.
That's what I am. That's what I love doing. That's what I love. I love learning, you know. It's just that my music puts me on television and the radio. Otherwise, I'm not better than the guy that's producing the show or whatever, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you jam to TKZEE? Because I mean, it's still the group that a lot of people still jam to. We know we do it. A lot of people requested on our throwbacks Thursday. I think
Always.
Ever since we started our throwback Thursday thing, we get a lot of listeners requesting a TKZEE song. And I'm thinking, do you sometimes sit and say, I did that, we did that?
Yeah, it's quite humbling, you know.
Wow.
Like, I mean, I'll be in Addis Ababa or Nairobi, or you know, and these guys are just like jamming. Like, the moment maybe they get word that, you know, guy from TKZEE is here, they'll kill a TKZEE song the moment they just put it on, even without other people knowing Gutin Corner, you know. It's just like, anywhere, Nigeria, anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, and that for me is like, wow, you know, we didn't even know what this music was doing across the continent.
Yeah.
You know, when you have someone like an Ice Prince, or, you know, someone like that coming to you and saying, dude, I'm doing what I'm doing because of you guys.
Wow.
You know.
Absolutely, man.
And that just shows you the power of music and just how far it can travel. Even if people don't understand what is being said in the song, it just is a jam.
Yeah, I think music is pretty special, but I think that talks to just the power of a dream, or the power of dreaming, you know. Because a lot of the stuff before I grew up and more stuff came into my head, it was the stuff that was in my head and what I could see when I close my eyes and just dreaming that I'm just seeing come into reality. And I think it can go with anyone who's in any space, you know.
Yeah.
Now, as we get back to the conversation, you before the break, when we asked you the question of over 20 years in the industry, you said I'm a musician at the end of the day. You're a musician and you love music. Let's talk about your love for music. Where would you say it stems from?
Sure.
Where would I say? Look, I remember when I started just singing around. What, 3, 4, whatever. It's basically as far back as I can remember. And the common response that would get from people that knew our parents, they would be like, close abati which means like, because both my mom and dad like sang so well, and they were quite something, they used to sing together, so like they like from both sides of the family. So and I mean, look, you can be good at something because you have natural talent, but a lot of it is really a lot of it has got to do with how you grew up, where you grew up, what you're surrounding. If you ate, slept, the thing. I mean, we were just surrounded by music.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, like at a home, like if anyone starts singing a song and they busy glularing the bed in that other room, the other one's on an alto in the other one, it's just that vibe.
Sounds like a family I'd be happy to be in.
I'd be.
It comes with this craziness, of course.
I mean, Budzwai, I call you a musical genius because you just have an ear for talent, for great compositions and everything. I want to know from you, I mean, having such a rich musical background, I mean, and being from the Drakensberg choir, what were like your influences to make hits like Palafala, with a background that you have that is so rich, with a background of gospel, but like who are you listening to get the influence of making hits like Palafala?
I think by the time I did TKZEE, I had done a lot of my studying. What always fascinated me was arrangements. The kind of stuff that, what I was listening to by then. I mean, I was even into 20th century composers, and just like, I mean, a person that writes such great music and write for 65 different instruments at the same time. So how, for instance, how the melody would move from the violins to the, to the flutes, to, it's like just, so I was always intrigued by how people think. So, for instance, when Twitter came around, it was like, but it's only got 140 characters. So what really interested me was not what a person writes, but what a person is thinking while writing that. So you can get a certain idea or a certain principle in a completely different spaces, but it's the same principle. You don't have to necessarily connect it to that particular thing. So like for instance, whenever I would even produce the guy's vocals, yes, you'd say it's rap, it doesn't need to be produced, but it is. It does need to be produced, and I would be like, I'll deal with things like pitch and tone, and and energy and performance, and and work as you would work with orchestras or choirs, or So, and a lot of it was from my classical studies, and I just needed to get the groove because I had spent too much time at school, and when it qinile. So what I knew that's the thing now. I just need to get into like ngithanda jive and ngifrustane yabona groove. So it's just beautiful when you don't just learn or know what you've been told. It's good to learn because it will get you a certificate. But after everything that I studied and came back, started TKZEE, what I learned from those two guys from Soweto was phenomenal. Because I like learning, and I'll be like, flip, what that guy just did is this, and that is flipping awesome. That this guy can do this. He goes, when he did Massiv, I'll never forget Tukulo going behind the microphone, and he did that whole track from hey, chicken, don't do it, like one take, the whole thing, and through to but so I'm like sitting and I'm like, what?
So
so if there was ego issues or whatever, you know, and I've come across a lot of people that struggled with even seeing stuff that is amazing because they're busy dealing with themselves, you know.
And do you ever just sit back and just think to yourself, if you had not met T and K and become TKZEE, like what your career would look like? Because you were a solo act before.
Well, I was already active in the industry those days. To what, 90? Yeah, early 90s, 95. No. I was already doing jingles, you know, and commercial work and whatever. At this very building, there was the kiddies shows and you know. X attitude.
Oh yes, I used to love that show.
Yeah, that's my voice.
Oh,
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So like in jam alleys and all that stuff and you know, kiddies shows, you know, making good money, you know.
Wow.
I was actually about to ask you, do you remember a jingle that, can you sing us a jingle that you sang before that maybe no one knows that you are the voice behind
I
that
think
jingle?
sometimes I don't even know how big they became or who.
Yeah.
But what was this one? Hey Tampinchi, Dingutemba Umaki. It was what, grandpa or something, like this guy who's a builder, you know, like obviously gets the headache and
Lebo knows it. Your generation
definitely knows.
Yeah.
and with the SABC those days, you know, you go and do all the languages. So there would be a Tsonga coach and vendor. I'm mentioning those ones because those were like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
You know, because you do it for the radio stations across, you know. Yeah, so it was, and also just doing these different things. I've met such wonderful people in this space. You know, abantu nam dan kaluba jonge TV and like nangu sisbani nangu, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I was just also lucky and blessed for these people to take a great liking in me. You know,
Yeah.
and especially much older people. You know, your Brendas, your Hughes, you know what I'm saying? Also Spongile, you know, and really respect what I do. You know, that there's no one basically I've never worked with, you know,
Sure.
and because they wanted to work with me, which is like, for me, like, wow, you
That's
know.
such a powerful thing.
Absolutely. You know what, Zwai? I found out something recently and I didn't know that you wrote this song, and I was like, I've always been singing this song, but I didn't know that you wrote it. Do me say but the Bongo Muffin one, you know.
yes.
And I wanted to know from you, like, how did that collab come about? Like, why did they decide that they want you to come help them, you know, getting all these things, you know, the instrumentals together and the choral thing in between there, you know, Bongo Muffin? Yeah.
No, I was actually visiting my friends, Bruce Noskizo, at Kalawa. Like I say, I like learning. So when they Uzban Band, this is how they do, and they really like, they sit there. So I go and check how they do things.
Yeah.
So I was just hanging out and they were playing this beat, you know, like just a groove in a loop. So and I'm like, there's this progression I've been trying to, like, I've been working out, yeah, and I'm like, yeah, maybe you could fit in here. I thought, you know.
Yeah.
So of course they did say no, we're busy with Bongo Muffin. The thing is about that song, I want to check if you can stay on one note in the melody. It can be just one note while you're changing chords around it. But because the chords are changing, that note is not really just one note. It ends up being a melody because the music is changing. So if you sing that song, there's like, the harmony is yes, but actually, but the main melody is just you know. So you know, just checking those things out, and when I was playing those chords, Uskizo was like, yo. He goes outside,
Absolutely.
Yo, guys, I can't.
Do you want to cough, Tabby?
No, I got choked up when he said, yo. I was just like, wow.
And I think I really would encourage, especially Africans, just to collaborate a lot more.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what grows our music.
Music is supposed to be that. It's not supposed to be this thing. We're supposed to make music together. And the rhythm is in when we all get together, it's a spiritual thing, and that's why people get healed when it happens, you know. We need to do it together, yeah.
Sihamba, I have to take a quick break. It feels like
97 when you were not there. Yes, when you were not there. When you were not there.
Did the song really drop in 97?
When did it drop, Budzwai, the song?
This was guys 2001. So
2001, okay.
No, 99.
99, okay.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, before Millennium, New Year's vibes.
Absolutely, fiasco. Tala, you heard the song?
You remember that? Weren't you like 2 or something?
I don't remember. I think I remember my dad playing it. The time right now is 8 minutes to the other side of 9 a.m. in the morning, and we're hanging out with a legend in the building, Mr. Zwai Bala in the house, and he is our guest this morning, and we're chatting all things music and getting to know him and this amazing, iconic legacy that he has. Now, as we get back into the conversation and we, unpack on your love for music, over 20 years in the industry, and, with you said something that really stuck out to me. You said, you've worked with the people that you really wanted to work with. How do you achieve that? Because it's not everyone who can say that, and I can imagine it's not easy to work with someone who you
idolize or
Hey man, it helps to just be real, because I think not all of us are set to do the same things or do as much as the other. I think what I saw as a child, a lot of what I saw in my head, in my vision, was not necessarily there. It's not like, hey, you see AKA, I want to be like AKA. The stuff that I saw was not possible for any black person in South Africa, at the time. And these things happened, when apartheid was hot and strong, and I was the only black boy there that I'll just step in there and just do my thing, and gain the love of all the masses and people with money and the poor, and, so I think I've come to understand why I'm here.
Yeah.
And what it is that if I follow really my heart and not listen to the garbage, and just listen to my truth and understand that God is inside of me, not out there, and we often get the right voice talking to us, but no, we choose to listen to the lie. And I'm happy that I was able to connect from a young age, and being drawn and attracted to wisdom and people that just speak so much life and wisdom, and like I said, I'm intrigued and I love learning. So when it came to, for instance, I think one good example would be when Oprah Hugh asked me to produce his album, and I was 29 years old, and
my age.
Yeah, it's quite an age. So and I mean, I'm like, okay, things I had written a song for Oprah Hugh when I was 20.
Wow.
And because I just got my equipment, and before I started TKZEE and so on, just got my, it wasn't a lot of, when I say equipment, like, it was just a keyboard, which I could program in, like it's got different sounds and a little screen. So I did the whole first TKZEE called Take It Easy on a small screen.
Oh yes.
Like this, and so it had nice sounds, it was a cork. So I came across this muted trumpet sound, and I'm like, oh, that's nice. So I started creating a beat, by the way, I'm an R&B guy,
Oh yes.
So
by the way,
and I remember coming across Brayu at some function for the first time I ever met him, and I said to him, sorry Brayu, do you play a muted trumpet? Because I didn't say, there's the song. I'm like, do you play muted? It's like, I haven't played muted trumpet in 25 years. And that was it. That's all we ever spoke about with Brayu. I was like, okay. And he left. Yeah, and I left. And now when he asked me to produce his album, I thought, what, all I know about this guy is like, para on radio, like whatever. But actually, I don't know much about this guy, and I don't want to be as young as I am, working with someone like this, because some people either get intimidated or they feel respected. So I think a great producer is not someone who knows gadgets well, but someone who can work well with someone and with an artist and get the best out of them.
Absolutely.
So, and fortunately, just released his book called Still Grazing. So I thought, let me read this thing and actually find out about this guy more, so I know what it is. And thank God I did that.
Wow.
Like I was like, yo, this guy has hung out with everybody. I mean, like he used to look up to Miles Davis and all these guys, and then when he gets there and he has the number one song in the US called "Grazing in the Grass" in 1968, and Miles Davis and all those guys were opening for him.
Imagine. How about Miles Davis went?
Just know it's big. But I need that, so you do your job well.
And I respect the fact that you said, Uguti, you wanted to work with him so badly that you went as far as to read the book.
It's very important. It's very important, you know. And when I asked him to, just one quick thing, when I asked him when I asked him to sign my copy for me, he wrote, "To the brother I never had."
Oh man, that is so amazing. You know what, but Zwai, like I said, we want to keep you on, but we don't have time. But what we're going to do is we're still going to talk to you off air and let people, you know, just get the full interview on video. But I just want just a quick one before we let you go. Let's just talk about mentorship quickly. What's the importance of it? I mean, I can imagine how many people are still asking for you to put them on or listen to their tracks, or if you think they're great at singing, whatever the case might be.
I don't like that, actually.
I love the honesty.
No, I don't like seeing the effects of programming in our people's psyche. You know, we, especially black people, we just want to be told what.
Sure.
Or given what, or like as long as I have a deal. Some people just say, can't sign. It's like, what are you saying? So don't care what it is, but you know that it's got signing party. And it's like, you're talking about 8 years of your creativity.
Wow.
Being locked.
You know, you don't even know what it is that you're doing.
Sure.
You know, I'm inspired by Steve Jobs. I'm inspired by different people that come up with different things in different spaces, and I apply that into what I do. You know, so until we have an African agenda, you know, until we have something that is just ours and use our creativity in different ways. Music doesn't only have to live in recorded music and having a single. What is that? Like,
that's true.
You know, a lot of people say, "Oh, awusakuli na." Because what, I'm not on television singing, that means I'm not singing, you know?
Yeah.
I think from a gigging perspective, I could say, I was more successful, or rather, made more money with Bala Brothers than I did with TKZEE.
Wow, that's an interesting fact.
Yeah, and that was by design. Like, I designed it, and this is my target. I know that we're not a radio act. But we're targeting those executive wives. You know what I'm saying?
Hold up. When off air, I asked Ukutuzwa Ngati, when did you make your first million? And he said him and the TKZEE gents all had R1 million at some point in their accounts. So if you made more money with the Bala brothers, I'm already just imagining the coins that are in your account. Well, the show has come to an end. Thank you guys so much for waking up with us right here on Legendary Breakfast with myself, Thabile, TTO, and Ona. We're back tomorrow and doing the most again on Legendary Breakfast. The conversation doesn't stop here.
Yes.
It continues off air, but we also want you to connect with us across every social media platform. That's Facebook, Twitter, and of course Instagram. If you want to see the full interview, it's going to be live on our YouTube, so subscribe. It's at Massiv Metro.
Absolutely. I am Nabarata Peteke. Goodbye.
Legendary Breakfast with Ona Peteke and Thabile TTO.